Seems like we got a lot of Nazi salutes flying around. We got Elon Musk doing one. We got that priest from the Lotus Eater doing another. Now we got Steve Bannon performing his. And while I don't think we are witnessing the rise of the Fourth Reich, I don't think that these individuals are part of the nationalist socialist party, I do believe that we are witnessing a monumental change, a shift in culture. Now, I know that a lot of people don't like when I go rambling, but I think that the rambling is a little bit important because there are some left-leaning people that are watching my channel, and I want to reach out to them and help them understand where we're coming from. What I think is happening is the cultural gap. I don't know if it always happens, but I have lived through it, and I actually recognize this pattern of behavior. You see, back when I was younger, everything I did was wrong. If you like to watch horror movies, that was wrong because they had violence and gore. If you wanted to listen to heavy metal, that was wrong because it was the music of the devil. If you wanted to watch anime, they were satanic. Unironically, like Matt Walsh isn't the first one that came up with that, and at least Matt Walsh is trolling, but back then, no, people genuinely thought that the magic in Pokemon is satanic, just like the one from Harry Potter. If you like goth music, that's satanic. Basically, like almost everything you did was wrong. Now, this wasn't propagated through social media, which was young at the time. It was propagated through the radio, through the television stations, through the church, right? So, like, you would have a person in your life that would constantly criticize and nag about what you're doing. Like, nothing was good enough. And so, when you tried pleasing that person, when you tried doing what they wanted, it was still not enough. Like, they would still complain. And so, it led to the entire generation just decoupling from their moral values. Like, that's when you have a lot of atheists that will start voting for Obama. Like, that is the moment when the nagging was so insufferable, so over the top, that instead of people listening to the nagging and taking the values, no, they would say, fuck all of you, we're going to create our own moral system, right? And that's when you have people voting for Obama. That's when you have the social justice activists. But unfortunately, history repeats itself, and the oppressed becomes the oppressor. And so what the social justice activists did is literally the same thing, like trying to push their values and their morality onto everyone else. They push their values in art, they push their values in video games, they push their values in sports, they push their values in the schools, in the universities, everywhere. To the point where, again, individuals noticed, especially the new generation noticed, that nothing they do is good enough. Like, nothing they do will get them away from being called racist, transphobic, bigoted, misogynistic. And so they realized, okay, well, it's time to fuck your morality. Just like the social justice activists told their parents, fuck your morality, so too now, the new generation is basically saying, we don't care what the left wing thinks anymore. And so if Elon Musk did the Nazi salute because he's the richest man on earth and he can afford it, he probably wanted to see if he can get the ADL to defend him, which they did. There's no way he didn't realize this, right? Like, if he does the Nazi salute, eventually people will ask the ADL. And the ADL, by the way, usually doesn't like to rock the boat. That's why they're very active during the Democrats' administrations. But when the Republicans are in power, they don't want to rock the boat too hard. Like, this is a policy that the ADL had throughout the years. And so, like, Elon Musk expected, the ADL is going to defend me if I do the Nazi salute. And they did. And Steve Bannon, however, is doing it for a different reason. He is doing it to piss the left off and to show them that there's nothing that they can do to him anymore. That's the main reason why it's happening. And again, this is because when you have a group of Karens that are obsessed with pushing their morality on what people think, right? Like, not just policing people's actions, but policing people's private life, even to the most private level, the thought, right? Like, what are people thinking? We need to police that. And so when you reach that level and you're also never happy, like, no matter what the other person does, no matter how much they try to accommodate you, you're still unhappy. There is a time when people decouple. And it's like the same thing, like if you have a member of your family that becomes extremely unreasonable. They're never happy with you. You know, like you can say, well, I love you, but it's time for us to part ways. You're going to become independent, move into your home just to get away from that family member. This is the normal, healthy reaction that human beings have towards moral busybodies. Like, what is a moral busybody? A stranger, like a person that you don't know, a person that's not in authority, that constantly moralizes you. And in other words, they nag. It's extreme feminine energy, like the full lunar energy, the longhouse, all that shit. That is what they are doing, right? So, like, the correct answer to deal with that, for some people, is to initially try to please them, but when you notice you can't please them, well, it's the block button, the mute button, which is pretty much what's happening now with the right in the United States. Initially, the right has tried to please the left and tried to find a compromise. That's called the first Trump administration. And during the first Trump administration, we noticed the left going unhinged, going full-on cancel culture, trying to censor social media, instill terms of service into various places to control the dialogue and what people think, constantly attack Trump with Russiagate, with all the nonsense, 2 scoops of ice cream, just constant negative articles. And so pleasing them didn't work. There was no compromise. It was like, no platform for bigots, no platform for fascists. All of you are fascists, no platforming for you. And so this is the fate of everyone that cannot learn tolerance. And what I mean by tolerance is not the toxic tolerance that the left was advocating for, but the tolerance in the sense that, okay, in society, there are other people that think differently of me. And if they're not, like, actually causing a problem, like they're watching some movies, they're playing some video games, it's the circus, right? Even if I don't like the shit they're partaking in, maybe I should leave them alone. You know, maybe I shouldn't have the Sisters of Perpetual Indulgence at the Dodger Stadium. Maybe I shouldn't try and put my ideology into their kids' shows. Maybe I shouldn't freak out if they're playing video games with women that have big tits. Maybe I should just fuck off and leave them alone, right? Well, if you can't do that, if you don't have that level of tolerance for that, at some point, you know, you can moralize to those people, you can nag and nag and nag, and eventually those people are going to completely decouple from your morality. They're going to be, no, like, these individuals are crazy, they're insane, there's no cohabitating with them. They're going to become like Freerun from that fucking anime. And they're going to treat you like the enemy, and they're going to think that everything you say is bad anyway, so there's no need to listen to you. And we noticed this not just with Steve Bannon, but there was the individual by the name of Big Balls, which is working in Dodge, and he was exposed by an offense necromancer that he posted some Nazi shit back in the day, and he had bad opinions about Indians. And so, like, the initial reaction was to fire him, right? Because that's the inertia from the previous culture. You said bad things on the internet, you get fired. But then people wonder, but like, hold on, why are we firing him? Like, okay, so he said some shit back in the day. Does that make him less effective at his job? Like, he's supposed to audit something. Like, okay, so what if he said Nazi shit on the internet? Is that interfering with his auditing? No. Okay, well, let's hire him back. And this is, like, to the dismay, to the horror, to the shock of left-leaning people. They just don't understand what the fuck happened. And what happened is pretty much the fact that the right-wingers do not care at all about leftist morality. Right-wingers now care about right-wing morality. I personally think that this decoupling of morality is probably part of the generation gap. I don't know how often it happens, but if this is the second time I see it, it probably happened even before, right? It probably happened with the hippie movement. Probably happened even after World War II. I don't know, but I expect it will happen in the future as well. I think it's just like part of the natural course of mankind. I think that once people get in power, they want to see their values represented by every single person in society at all times. Like, everyone needs to think the correct things at all times. And when that happens, they start to nag and push and push and push until, like, the new generation just decouples and the system just resets. It goes back to where it was. I don't know how long it will take. Obviously, before it took quite a couple of decades for like a complete change in the way society thinks, right? Like in the United States, to go from intelligent design and creationism to go full on transgender boobies in front of the White House, cocaine in the White House, boot sex in the Senate, like to go from there to that, it took a couple of decades. To go from that to this, where you have people doing Nazi salutes and posting Nazi shit on Twitter and then no one caring, it took less. And I think it took less because of social media. So will we see like another shift? Maybe. I don't know how long it will take, but definitely it will happen. Will it be like a left-wing shift? Not necessarily. Like, not necessarily. The new ideology may actually not be the same left-leaning type that we saw with social justice activists, and no. It may be like a completely different way of thinking. It may be a way of thinking that even mixes both ideologies. Maybe like a right-wing mixed with left-wing. Who the fuck knows? But what I do know is that this level of decoupling happens in a generation or so, and it's happening more rapidly due to social media. So we're going to see what the new way of thinking is like. Hopefully, we will enjoy a little bit more peace and relaxation for at least a couple more years. Because it also takes time until, it ramps up and everyone is like starting to canonize, and it usually takes a while for that level to arrive. But I'm pretty sure it will arrive. Anyway, right, hopefully I explained why Steve Bannon has done this. The answer is because he can. And he just wanted to show that he can get away with it, which he did. Let me know what you think. I'll see you in the comment section. Take care.